You're all set again.
Okay, thank you very much, David. I'm going to call the Monday, March 17th, 2025 meeting of the Barnstable Community Preservation Committee to order. This meeting of the Community Preservation Committee is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. In accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, the chair must inquire whether anyone else is taping this meeting and to please make their presence known.
No.
Seeing none, Ellen, will you call the roll?
Catherine Garofoli.
Kat, you're muted.
Yes.
Thank you. Tom Lee.
Present.
Deb Converse. I know she's in the wings. Farley Lewis.
Here.
Steve Robichaud.
Here.
Lindsay Council.
Here.
Terry.
Okay.
I am here, Ellen. You got me?
Oh, there's Terry.
I'm sorry, Terry.
Slid in late.
There you are. Okay. Terry
There's Deb.
Duenas. Okay.
Debbie's here too.
Deb is here too.
All right.
So we have a full complement.
Yes, we do.
We're almost tired of the meeting in person.
All right, very good. Well, the first item on our agenda is a housing update by the Planning and Development Director, James Kupfer.
Hey, good evening, everybody. You guys run an efficient meeting here.
Thank you very much. We try.
Excellent. So yes, I know many faces look very familiar, but if you don't know me, my name is Jim Kupfer. I'm the Director of Planning and Development for the Town of Barnstable. And I've been asked this evening just to give an update on housing and all things housing related for the Town of Barnstable. I'll keep it I'll try and keep it as brief as possible. There's a lot to go over in terms of this subject. And I will share, if I can, David, if you're on, if I can share my screen in a moment here. Let's see. Not turned on at the moment, but as soon as I can share my screen, I'll provide I'll walk you through a presentation I've given prior. Oh, David, do you mind if I have host privileges to share screen?
Yeah.
Yep. I'll share this entire slide deck with the group. I'll give it to Ellen, and they can. Thank you. Okay. All right. So let's see. Share the screen. Nope.
Okay. Here we go.
Can you see the? No. Can you see the report?
Not yet.
No.
Not yet.
Okay. Let's see. For some reason it keeps kicking me out, David, as soon as I'm sharing it. Let's see.
Is it located somewhere that I could access it?
Yes, it's on the T drive. So I could send you a link to it, but let me just try one last time. It's on Applications, Windows, Share Screen.
There you go.
There it is.
Got it. Nice.
Hey, all right, last try the charm. Excellent. All right, and then it's full screen here, I think. All right, excellent. So I'll walk everyone through the PowerPoint. It's kind of a lengthy PowerPoint, but I'll do my best to speed through it, highlighting all the aspects. But I will give you the entire slide deck for you guys to peruse through more at your leisure. Happy to answer any questions at the end, and always interested in getting questions, comments directly to me, always available, whether you want to stop into the office, give me a call, shoot me an email, whatever it might be. But I thought quickly I would just go through, again, all things housing for the town of Barnstable. how do we support housing here in the town of Barnstable? So we do it really in three different ways: programs, incentives, and regulatory. Programs are really what you guys spearhead, and that is helping fund the Affordable Housing Trust. That goes directly to things like pre-development costs and development funds that help subsidize housing in the most needed areas of investment. So we see a lot of investment recently in areas such as like the east end of Hyannis, where there hasn't been a lot of investment over the years, and utilizing these funds, a lot of it coming from you all at CPC, has gone a long way in providing new housing for those that need it. We also do it through incentives. So one of the biggest incentive programs that we have right now is the HDIP, which is an acronym for essentially a tax incentive program. Again, it's a targeted tax incentive program for areas of town that need investment. And again, that's mostly the east end of Hyannis, along Barnstable Road as well, and some areas just outside of that. But by and large, it's in those general areas. And you'll see as I'm going through the program, or the full list of developments that we have seen over the last few years, much of the opportunities for construction have come because of utilizing both the program and incentives to make it a reality. And then lastly is regulatory, and that's really what I'm going to go through this evening, is tools that we have in our pocket as a community to create the housing that targets the exact neighborhoods, the exact locations we're hoping to find reinvestment. And you do that through helping developers, property owners, landowners understanding the regulatory framework and making it as streamlined and as easy to understand as possible, while also giving them some opportunities to create uses that will be affordable for them to construct. And again, utilizing these three tools, regulatory, incentives, and programs, we can make it work for everyone. So this isn't meant to be able to be read. This is just the spreadsheet that I'll direct you to in just a moment. This is the spreadsheet that we have internally that we produce, and it goes out to the public, that has a framework of all the housing units that have been created over the last 8 years. And 2017 is kind of a benchmark year that we utilize for this, and I'll go over why in a moment. So how do we get to our housing report? What are we producing here in the town of Barnstable? It's pretty easy to get to. We try and make it as easy as possible to get to. Right on the town's webpage, on the front page there on the left side, housing tab. And that housing tab will bring you to our housing page. And on the right side, there is the multifamily residential development report. And that's going to give you everything that has been produced since 2017, whether that is in the permitting, whether that has been permitted, or whether it's under construction, or whether it's had its occupancy permit and has been completed. This is a map showing generally where multifamily housing has been placed over the last 8 years. I'll zoom in on where that little cluster is, and obviously, as you would imagine, that is downtown Hyannis. You'll see the spots just out and about. Most of them, or 3 of them, are out there in Independence Park. We have a couple in Centerville, but by and large, most of the investment that has been pursued has been in downtown Hyannis. And again, that is very likely because of that 3-prong of tools that we have, the programs, incentives, and regulatory framework that allows for that. Housing produced prior from 2017 to 2023, essentially. In 2017, again, is where we started to see multifamily housing take shape, where we've seen a lot of the occupancies for Independence Park and elsewhere. And what we can see here is 216 units created, 13 of those being affordable, and they were constructed through either by right or through 8 regulatory agreements. Regulatory agreements are these unique tools that allow for developments by review and approval of the town council. It's a literal agreement between 2 parties. Now, 2023, we see a shift away from those agreements, those regulatory agreements, and more to the by right developments. And that is because of that third prong being regulatory relief, regulatory changes. And those changes were in downtown Hyannis. And you see why a lot of those clusters of downtown Hyannis took place. And you have 637 units created, 118 of those affordable. And when I say affordable, we're talking about deed restricted affordable. So, you know, there's a very specific term and it's on your unit's deed. So they have to be deed restricted in perpetuity as affordable. Multifamily residential, this is one of those outside of the downtown Hyannis. There was a number of units created. Again, those three kind of big developments out in Independence Park again. Overall, though, between 2017 to now, we see over 1,500 units permitted, I should say. That word created should really say permitted, because we haven't seen the realization of it just yet. As you've probably seen if you go up and down Main Street, you know, the old Cascade Motel that had been abandoned for many years had finally come down, and there is some shovels in the ground, but there's only very few that actually have shovels in the ground. And as we know, the current economic standards, it has been increasingly difficult to actually get those shovels in the ground. So we're going to focus, and I'm going to zoom through some of these developments, but these are within Hyannis from 2017 to 2024. And we're going to start with in permitting. So these are ones that have submitted to the town that says we're interested in development of my property, but we haven't got to the end line here. So it's still either in early concept form or looking to get further insight from departments and then other stakeholders. So first we'll start with 24 and 30 Crocker Street. Crocker Street is on the east end of Hyannis, just off of Yarmouth Road, kind of near DJ's Wings in that general area. This is proposed 15 units, 0 affordable. I should note that when we talk about affordable units, we talk about deed restricted. Our general ordinance for inclusionary housing requires 10% affordable. However, it has to be 10% of 10 units or more. And you'll say, well, we got 15 units here. We actually have 6 existing units. So there's only 9 new units, which means it doesn't quite meet that threshold. And you may start to see a trend. We have a number of developments that have decided, oh, I'm just going to stick at 9 units and not provide that affordable. We are looking at ways in which we can tighten up that ordinance. This is the existing conditions. This is what's proposed. A number of new units being added through this style of kind of duplex housing in that general area. Moving over to 23 Washington Street, just behind the North Street parking lot. We have proposed 32 units, 3 of which are affordable, again, meeting that 10% mark. This was the existing conditions, though I believe these structures have since come down, and they're looking to put what you call a 4-story structure at that location. This, again, early concept phase, nothing has been permitted to date here. Sliding over to 79 Center Street, so right around the corner from this, 9 units. As you probably already guessed, 9 units, 0 affordable. This is a vacant lot. It's been kind of used as a dumping ground over the years. And they're proposing an apartment building to go essentially next to the other apartment building that was put up there a few years back. 473 Main Street Phase 2. This one actually, I'll review with you really quickly, but this has since been pulled back and no longer moving forward. This is the front half of the motel you may have saw in the news. They're actually going to preserve the structure and make the units as 1-bedroom apartments as opposed to what was proposed here, which was a structure along Main Street. New structure along Main Street and putting units there and then preserving the motel. They've since adjusted that and no longer putting the new structure, but just converting the motel into housing units. Moving down the street on Main Street, 407 North Street, another 9 units, 0 affordable units. This is the existing structure. You probably recognize driving by it a million times on North Street there. They're just looking to infill on the top units as apartment complexes. 337 Main Street. 337 Main Street,
Yeah.
you probably, Bill, yeah? Oh, sorry.
No, this was on the agenda, actually.
Just mute that. Yeah, thank you. All right, so 337 Main Street, 337 Main Street probably saw on the in the paper recent submittal to the Historic Commission. That's still before the Historic Commission, so nothing's permitted on this one yet. That's proposed to be 22 units, 2 of which should be affordable. This is the existing structure. It's been like that for many years now, an important parcel on Main Street. And this is what's being proposed before the Historic Commission today, commercial on the first floor and apartments above it. Moving to permitted. So these are ones that have actually taken that step beyond just conceptual phase and moved to a more permanent phase. 268 Stevens Street. They're proposing 50 units, and they're using a different mechanism, utilizing some of those incentives that we talked about early on for 40 affordable units, so increasing the affordability by utilizing those incentives. And as you probably all are familiar, this is another site that I'm sure a lot of you drive by, and it's been vacant for many, many years, and they're proposing apartment complex at that location. 40 North Street, again, just behind North Street parking lot, 8 units, just conversion of an existing structure into what was offices. Obviously, the office climate or economic stability has decreased, and we're seeing a lot of those that were offices looking to convert into residential uses. And so this is preserving the structure and putting residential inside. And this is just some of the outside improvements that they were looking to make. 94 Stevens Street. 94 Stevens Street is 40 units with 4 affordable. That's that 10% again. This was the church. And they're looking to convert that into apartments / townhomes at that location. 28 Barnstable Road, looking to add 4 units of housing. No affordable units there. Looking to preserve the existing structure and just put a second story above that commercial side. So we are seeing a trend of trying to preserve the existing structures and renovate and add units in that manner, which is always a positive when we can do that. 307 Main Street. 307 Main Street has been discussed for some time, 120 units. Right now, the affordability is somewhere between 30 plus. It depends on their funding programs. They are required to do at minimum the 10%. But this entity is looking to do more than that through their different incentive programs. That's 120 units, 30, which minimum will be affordable. So the existing structure, this is what they were looking to propose at that location. 11 Potter Street. 11 Potter, again, is looking to preserve the existing structure. I believe it was a mixed use office and maybe some residential there. Now it's just 5 residential units there, preserving the existing structure. 53 Camp Street, 5 additional units at that location, 5 units. And that is actually infill from behind this existing structure. So you'll see they're putting a secondary structure on site to allow for 5 more units at that location. 50 Main Street. 50 Main Street is 10 total units, one of which is affordable, again, that 10%. This was a building that I believe has come down since this time. And they're looking to put new structures, duplex style structures at that location. 201 Main Street is what I just mentioned, the old Cascade Motel. The old Cascade Motel is looking to put 95 units, 10 of which are affordable. And that's the old boarded up motel, has since come down. They're looking to put commercial on the first floor, lobby space, and then apartments above. Some of those units in the back will be looking towards the harbor. Under construction, we can now shift 201 Main Street actually to under construction, but there are some others under construction. 473 Main Street. This is that motel that we talked about before, but actually it's just the rear of that motel. They converted those units some time ago into residential. And now, as I mentioned earlier, they're looking to do the same in the beginning. Unfortunately, the motel just wasn't the same economic engine that it used to be. So the 32 Main Street, again, just another conversion of an existing structure into 9 units. That's the old office structure there. And they're just looking to redo the siding, improve the inside, and create some units there. 210 North Street, 18 units, 2 of which are affordable. And that's the old 7-Eleven on North Street. They're going to be taking that down and putting a new structure at that location. 199 Barnstable Road, excuse me, the old Sprinkle building. Mr. Sprinkle is proposing 45 units, 9 units affordable, taking down the old steel building and putting 4 different structures there with landscaping, sidewalks, etc. 235 Barnstable Road, just utilizing the existing structure, renovating within, just preserving the structure and putting new units there. 81 Bassett Lane, same thing, 4 units, looking to renovate these structures and preserve the structures as is. 110 and 112, I believe, School Street is what's known as 110 and 115 School Street. The old dockside is being proposed to new construction. This is the existing. Actually, if you've driven by recently towards going to the hospital, you know that there's actually a dirt pit now for the most part. But this is what's proposed at those locations. The elevation is there, and the elevations here are the 2 developments being proposed. What's known as the dockside. 50 Yarmouth Road is, and I'm almost done, 15 units, 5 of which are proposed to be affordable. The existing conditions, preserving the front structure, the existing house there, and putting duplexes behind. All of that, I know I went through it really quickly. I'll provide you with that slide deck so you can have time to sift through and get a sense of all the different projects. But all of those can be found right on the housing tab under the multifamily residential development report. And much of that is completed because of the work that you guys have done and the ability to provide opportunities, incentives, and different programs through CPC. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, take any comments. Also happy to do it anytime after this meeting. Feel free to call, email, stop by the office. And thank you.
All right, members, question, Farley?
Okay, looking at all these proposed drawings for the various units, I see a total lack of character, very monotonous. Everything looks like a residence inn to me. And I don't understand why you can't have a little more diverse architecture involved in producing these things. I mean, it's going to be really brutal looking at that stuff.
Yeah, I will say that anything in at least the Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District, that commission's worked really hard to work with developers to try and add that exact character you're talking about. It doesn't come through, I'm sure, in the slide deck whatsoever. But I will say the commission has been working very hard with those in the district. Now, not all of those are within the district, obviously. And then there's always opportunities we could look at to provide maybe other incentive programs to add additional architectural character, perhaps. Obviously, a lot of that probably adds dollars to a project. So any incentives we could maybe direct people to certainly would be useful.
Okay. And additionally, is there a program where these buildings that are coming in are going to have green alternative sources of energy?
Yeah, so I know a lot of, or a few counselors, when we're talking about that second part about incentives, and they're talking about tax relief, that actually has come through quite a bit from our counselors asking for them to do alternative energy, high insulation, high net, or is it, sorry, escaping me, the R values in structures to create, high efficiency structures. So that has come through in the incentives. Nothing requires them to do that. But it has certainly been something that at least the counselors that have been participating in the incentive program has been pushing. And I know at least a few have taken them up on that.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Lindsay?
Stephen,
Yeah, great presentation, Jim. You shared a lot in a short amount of time. I do have a slightly, well, actually, first I'll just mention to Farley's point, I mean, the building code is doing that on its own right now. The level that the building code has gone to in the state of Massachusetts is pretty intense. And just as a minimum threshold requirement, just from the building department, these structures have to be very, 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 very efficient, incredibly efficient. So the code's definitely doing that. The biggest thing for me, the biggest takeaway for me is just fixing eyesores around town. So many of these sites are vacant, dirt, buildings that are closed, businesses that are closed, that they're just sitting there rotting. And the eyesores currently are they're all over town. And a lot of these we're seeing an eyesore turn into something new. I have a completely different opinion than Farley. I think a lot of what you shared was gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. I don't think that that's everything. A lot of the duplexes and things like that definitely have a more simple design. But I got to give the Main Street Historic Commission credit. A lot of the designs they initially get is not what's eventually approved, and I know that they dig in and they work hard at that. Now, obviously, their jurisdiction doesn't cover this entire area, but I can say just from experience that the projects they do sink their teeth into, from the first point they get them to the point that they approve them, I'm impressed with how they're able to proceed along. It's incredible looking at the properties like 268 Stevens Street and 307 Main Street and seeing how many affordables they contribute to the overall number. For me, as we talk to the Housing Trust more and our ad hoc housing committee and other avenues, for me, one of the biggest things we've got to do is find a way to get that 10% threshold up to chip away at that overall number. So I think that's definitely a goal that we probably all share. But again, I think this is all good. We need housing. We're generating a lot of units, and we're dealing with a lot of eyesores around town. There's just derelict properties that nobody likes to look at that are going to be something new and beautiful. Not necessarily beautiful to everyone, but I'd rather look at something that is actually contributing to our local community and society rather than being a vacant or abandoned lot. So thank you, Jim. I thought that was great. That's all I got.
thanks, Stephen. Deb?
It was a really good report, thorough and understandable, and I'm trying to map it out, and everything was good. Thank you for that. I just wonder, and I don't know if this tool exists, but I keep thinking about the impact on the village of Hyannis. And I know we've got the sewer, we've got everything, but is there any kind of program that could sort of put the structures as they are proposed to give us the whole span of what it could look like? Because it looks big to me. It looks a lot to me. So is there any way to put that in a better perspective than my imagination?
Yeah, Deb, yes, absolutely. We actually have been looking at some modeling software that might be able to help the public kind of get a sense of what that could look like. We're trying to do it in a cost-effective way, and so we're looking at different strategies to do that. And maybe it's just because downtown Hyannis is taking the brunt of this. Maybe it is just a certain area of town that we're modeling to start. But I've gotten that comment a few times, so we are looking at different ways in which we might be able to achieve that.
Yeah, because the other thing I had that's gone right out of my head now. Do people think there are enough people that have they done a market study to see who's really going to rent the unaffordable units at $3,000 or $2,000 a month?
Yes. So we actually require many of, depending on the development, but many of these developments do their market analysis and will provide that to us. So the most recent one that has come forward that I'm sure you guys have all been aware of, behind Home Depot, the big structure that's phase 2. They've done their analysis, and they feel confident in the analysis that there will be sufficient need. Obviously, the demand has been so high for so long, but there will be a tipping point at some point. And so, you know, to be honest with you, right now we're already starting to look ahead. I know this 2023 when we did the zoning, that doesn't seem that long ago, but the demand was so much. There was so much demand there that, you know, a lot of it's coming to fruition quickly. So we're already beginning to say, you know, let's take a look at this and see what are some tweaks that we could make to improve the existing zoning and making sure we're meeting the need that's actually there. So we are looking at that already right now to see if there's need for adjustment at this time.
Yeah, it's like future casting, and it's hard. I mean, people are leaving the Cape, so, you know, what does that mean to all this, and who is renting this anyway? You know, I think, and do they give you, other than the affordable units, their rents that they'll be charging?
It depends on which direction they go. If they're, for instance, looking for incentives through the Affordable Housing Trust, they will note the rents that they're looking to offer. We typically don't ask for it if they're not asking for any incentives or going through any programs. But obviously they're pretty readily available afterwards since they're looking to market these units.
And the other thing is, obviously, and I'm going to say this because I'm an affordable housing person, there aren't enough affordable units. They used to, during the Dukakis administration, they had 25% affordable to get any kind of money. And then, you know, that changed to 10%, which is minute. And so, you know, I don't know what you can do with costs so high now, but we need more affordables than we're getting, period. So.
Completely agree.
Anyone else with questions for Jim? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead. Thank you very much, Jim.
Wait, I think Terry has his hand up.
Well, I was
Terry, did you have something?
Well, I just have a quick question as part of it. Is part of the overall plan a package to how they're going to bring it? They need to bring a grocery store in that area if they're going to bring that much new residential having an impact. Is there an overall livability package that's being put together on this, James?
Absolutely. Thank you, Terry. So yes. And so just full disclosure, I live right here in downtown Hyannis as well. And I would say, yes, grocery store, the number one need for making it a walkable community. And in my role, I speak with a lot of different business owners, not just in Barnstable, but across the Cape and elsewhere, and trying to recruit them into town if there's a need. And the number one thing I hear from business owners, that being, you know, mid-sized businesses to larger businesses, is there's not enough year-round population. Why am I going to bother? There's not enough year-round population. I honestly think with this slight influx of potential year-round population in the downtown area, there could be a real good opportunity for some uses that we typically wouldn't see in more year-round uses, like maybe a small grocery store. I don't think you're going to the expectation of a big grocery store, but a smaller grocery store. We already have things like pharmacies, and obviously we have great health services down the street. But yes, to your point, that grocery store is that missing link that I would love to see come to fruition, and me being able to turn to people and say, well, we have a nice increase in year-round population finding their homes in downtown Hyannis, I think would be a good answer to folks looking to site there.
There used to be a grocery store, for those of you who have lived forever, down where the T-shirt company is. And I was then at the Captain Eldredge house, and my residents could walk up there and do their shopping, get exercise. It was right up on the end of the block. It was great. So, and even in Falmouth, they have a couple of local things. I don't know how you recruit that kind of thing, but it is a good idea, Terry. Thank you for that livability. Yeah.
Anyone else? All right, thank you very much, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
All right, the next item of business is the minutes, approval of the draft Community Preservation Committee regular meeting minutes from February 24th, 2025. Everybody had a chance to review those? I looked at them and I had a question on the roll call vote regarding the approval of the minutes. It mentioned we had 6 yet and 0 no with 1 abstention, but it didn't say who that was.
That's me.
So if you could check that out.
Yeah,
Bobby?
that's me. Yeah, because I hadn't attended previously.
The
Yeah.
previous meeting? Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
Mhm.
very good. Anyone else with that? Anyone have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the minutes? Call the roll, please, Ellen. You're muted, Ellen.
I'm sorry. Terry Duenas,
Yes.
Catherine Garofoli,
Abstain because I was not present for that meeting.
Tom Lee,
Yes.
Deb Converse,
Yes.
Farley Lewis,
Yes.
Steve Robichaud,
Yes.
and Lindsay Council.
Yes. Thank you, Ellen. Next item on the agenda is letters of intent. A letter of intent has been received from the South Congregational Church requesting community preservation, historic preservation funds for the cleaning, restoring, and resetting of approximately 33 gravestones and markers with historic and cultural significance located in the cemetery on the church grounds. The burial ground is listed on the State Register of Historic Places. I believe we have folks here to speak to that. If you'd identify yourself. You're muted.
Now I'm okay. My name is Jean Manser, and I'm a member of the church.
All right, Jean. You want to explain your request?
Sure. What we'd like to do is repair and restore the cemetery behind our church. It's in a bad state of disrepair right now, and it's something that we feel is important to the town of Barnstable and the village of Centerville. It's a historic place, and I think it should be preserved. It gives Barnstable sort of a sense of place and shows its unique importance. And it tells the story of the town, too. There's many prominent families that are buried there, including sea captains and cranberry growers and things like that. And we'd like to preserve it and put it into better shape than it is right now. We have a one bidder. Actually, we had 3, but our low bidder is the one we like. And his bid is $10,500. But we still need to speak to him about certain things in the cemetery itself, including the landscaping. I know the money might not go toward landscaping, but 3 of the graves are sort of enclosed by shrubbery or trees, and we need to speak to him about how he's going to handle that. And actually, he's going to be at the cemetery on Thursday to talk about that. So we'll get some more information on the cost once we talk to him. I envisioned this as being a place where we could have tours and highlight the importance of the town, the history. And I just think it would be a wonderful asset. And it's within a historic district, so I think it really deserves to look much better than it does. And we would like your help to do that.
Thank you. Anyone else from the group?
I don't know.
I believe that Tom, are you speaking? You're muted.
Tim Tudor is here.
He's
He might
muted.
be muted. There he.
You're still muted, Tom.
Tim.
Tim.
Well, it says Tom, but
Can I be heard now?
Yeah.
yes, you can.
Okay, great. Well, we have this cemetery and we're getting it surveyed, or getting a survey done of the entire property. It's never been done. And we have a Boy Scout troop, Troop 54, that is, we have 2 Eagle candidates that are interested in portions of this project. And, you know, with the restoration and repair and the preservation of the stones. And we have a leadership meeting on Thursday. I understand there's a suggestion that we hire a consultant to help with some of the paperwork involved here. And I believe that cost is $2,500. So is that accurate?
Yes, that's accurate. You will, folks, have several steps that you need to go through to move this forward. There's a form that needs to be filled out for cemeteries that goes with the Mass Historic Commission. They are the ones who issue the historic preservation restrictions.
Okay.
And they will also require a full evaluation of the entire cemetery, which deals with things like shrubbery, and it can also deal with the fencing.
Okay.
Which we wound up doing this with the Hyannis Unitarian Church Cemetery. You may have seen that in the recent newspaper.
Yes.
That wound up being a complete project, much more involved, I think, than was originally envisioned. But I believe on a much smaller scale, your project will be fairly similar. It'll be interesting to see how this goes forward, but it certainly is, I think, eligible. We always check with our legal department on that, but where it's on the register, I don't think that will be the issue. But
So you're saying that you check with your legal department?
yes, we have to get an official ruling from them. They always weigh in on all historic projects for eligibility to make sure that we're not funding something that's not historic. But I think this will qualify, no problem. And then we do need to get a full evaluation. You're proposing 33 stones, but the Mass Historic Commission wants to take a look at the entire site.
Yeah.
So we'll need to get proposals for that, to look at that. And then we can look at how the project goes forward from there.
Okay.
So what do we
So-
need?
So
We
it's up-
just to do an intake at this time. We do need to get pricing on this filling out of the Form E, which is really similar to the same form that goes forward. A Form B for a structure and a Form E is for a cemetery. Ellen's been bringing me up to speed on these of late.
okay.
And then we can look at getting some proposals for a full evaluation. And from that, we'll learn what more needs to be done. I see the fence, has a couple of rails that are down. I'm sure this would be the time to take care of that, and we can get a broader scope of what we're going to do. And then we have to propose that back to Mass Historic to make sure that we're not doing anything that's inappropriate in that regard. And then they go forward. So this really would take an intake. What time is your meeting on Thursday?
2:00 Thursday afternoon.
That would be interesting, 2 p.m. I'm not sure of my schedule offhand, but perhaps I could stop in and anyone else who's available to take a look from the group, we could learn a lot.
Okay. You'd certainly be welcome. That'd be wonderful.
That'd be great. Yep. Any
565 Main Street. You know where it is, right?
Oh yeah, it's
Okay.
across the street from the candy store. Who doesn't
That's
know where
right.
the candy
Yeah.
store is?
Exactly.
Any other questions from members?
You know, how much is it going to cost? You know, cost.
Well,
But,
these things are not inexpensive, but you know,
But-
it is a significant piece of Barnstable history. These things.
Right. The history that's been uncovered so far is pretty exciting, and the scout, you know, the scouts, the Eagle candidates. You're familiar with the guide to becoming an Eagle Scout?
Sure, it's very involved.
Okay. Well, you know, a couple of young men are hot on the trail of that one at the moment. So.
Well, there'll be a fair amount of digging, fixing that fences. So if we've got young backs with some good shovels, we could straighten that fence out in short order. Anyone else? Tom?
Lindsay, so I just want to point out on the letter of intent, you don't have a proposed budget because you're waiting for the cost estimate to come in and the scope of the work will change as well too, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I just want to mention that. So that's all.
Anyone else wish to speak to the Centerville Congregational Church? All right, I will look to stop by on Tuesday and Thursday, and any other members that are available, let's come on by.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next letter of intent. A letter of intent has been received from the Odd Fellows Lodge requesting $69,360 in community preservation, historic preservation funds for preservation and restoration work, including roof, gutters, trim replacement, foundation repair, and waterproofing. The building is listed on the State Register of Historic Places. I see we have several people here. Is someone like to take the lead to describe the project?
Well, I could start. My name is Paul Davies, and I'm a member of the Odd Fellows. And so we, as you know, it's a historic building, but it's in serious need of repair, and we haven't got the funds to do that. So we've come to you in our hour of need.
All right. Well, this again will go to our legal department. I'm reasonably certain it would qualify, but there are questions regarding public access. Do you have public access to your lodge hall for that, to
Yes.
the outside public?
Yes, and it's also accessible. There's an elevator in the building. There's a commercial kitchen in the building, and we have had in the past community suppers and that sort of thing, and we want to get back to that. And you know, I think with all of this, you're going to have quite a few new neighbors in downtown Hyannis. So you know, an affordable place to go and have a meal and meet your neighbors would be a real good thing.
Very good. Well, you probably want to put together what kind of outreach you might do to reach that goal, and because public access is a huge part of our program, we don't like to fix these buildings and then have no one ever see them. So that would be important. And then we'll also need to do a full assessment on the condition of the building, particularly the exterior primarily, but again, we need to enroll the Mass Historic Commission in creating a historic preservation restriction. And that's a bit of an involved process. This is for buildings. It may take some time to get that evaluation done. We'll need quotes on that. And then the draft preservation restriction needs to be brought forward as well. So we're talking time here. but it will all keep the project moving forward and be quite valuable in the end. Was there anyone else from the group that wanted to speak? No? Seeing shaking heads?
Might I add one more thing?
Certainly.
Would it be possible to get some short-term funding just in terms of the most critical repairs as we wait for the rest of the evaluation and preservation restriction?
No, we only fund actual restoration. I knew you mentioned in your letter that, you were looking to do preservation of the brickwork, for example. The report that we create will direct you to do all of that, but it has to be historic preservation. We aren't allowed to fund repairs or temporary work at all. So this is a different level of work, and we prioritize that based on generally working from the exterior inward. So we like to seal the exterior envelope, make sure the roof is good. Obviously, brick pointing, which you all have noticed, trim, those kinds of things. Anyone else from the group? Carol, I see you shaking your head there.
No, we already did we did do a significant amount of repairs until we ran out of money. So we did try to keep the upkeep of the building, but it's really costly.
Oh, it's very expensive these days.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
Yeah.
And that's Catherine.
Yeah, I have a question. I was reading your letter of intent and it says that these were rentals. So you do not own the building as an organization?
We do own the building.
Oh, okay, great.
Yes.
Thank you.
I was thinking, Lindsay, can you tell them what step 1 would be?
Oh, that's great.
Step 1 is to get some pricing for a historic preservation consultant to come in and analyze the building.
Okay.
Right,
That's
good.
really step 1.
And then they can come back to us with a request for those beginning funds?
When we get the plan, then we need to go to Mass Historic to look at the preservation restriction to see if that work comports with what they think the building needs. We're fortunate in this regard that we have a Form B, which is the listing with the state for this building. They're aware of it. They know the date it was built and the architect and all of that. So we've completed step 1, really. And then we'll need to get an outline of, the work that needs to be done. And I did speak with Barbara Harris, that she's our attorney who does our historic preservation restrictions, and she's willing to take on the two new projects that we have to write up these restrictions. But we need feedback from Mass Historic first. So several things happen at once, but we try to keep them moving.
So if they need money to hire a consultant after Mass Historic says, yes, we can do this, they can come back to us and get that study money?
They can come back to us to cost share the study, yes.
Okay. All right. Because I'm thinking that's a bit of money for a small amount of people to come up with, that's all.
Right, and that's a commercial building, Main Street. There'll be a number of factors. But first we need to determine that it's eligible, that there's enough public access, and we'll forward this letter of intent.
What's her name?
I'm sorry? Anyway, so we'll need to make sure that everything's all eligible first before we have anybody commit any funds. We won't want to send people down a rabbit hole.
Okay.
Anyone else? Terry.
Lindsay, I have a question. I was just wondering, what's the address of this building? I don't know why I don't know where it is.
It's 354 Main Street. Our tenants would be Ben and Jerry's and the boarding house.
Okay. All right. So now I know where the building is.
Yes.
Great.
All right.
Okay.
Anyone
Thank
else
you.
with questions, comments? All right, seeing none, we'll move on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yep, thank you.
All right, next item, we had no applications for this meeting. So we'll go on to correspondence. We received a report from the Affordable Housing Growth and Development Trust Fund Board regarding activities related to the award of community preservation funds for the end of calendar year 2024. Rather interesting report. They did note in that report that we had asked for quarterly reports, but they'd rather do 2 a year, one on the fiscal year and one on the calendar year, which I think that's sufficient. And their intent is to submit a request for their usual 2.5 million at the April meeting. So Jim sort of filled in what the overall projects are, and I believe the Housing Trust is backstopping a lot of those projects. Deb.
No, I just said they're doing some of the projects, yeah.
Yeah, they don't do them all, I don't think.
No, they can't.
So that's where we're at with that. And now to project updates. The Smiths Creek Conservation Restriction application has been forwarded to the council for a public hearing. That conservation restriction has been approved by both CONCOM and the Open Space Committee. The West Barnstable Railroad Station CPC application has been referred to the town manager for town council public hearing as well. And the Katuitt High Ground Conservation Restriction has received approval, and that will be forwarded to the town council. So right now we're going to have, with the conservation restrictions for Harju and Prince Ave, 5 projects going to the council. So I'd like to move those conservation restrictions as well, given that they've been hanging around for almost a year or more. So we will be endeavoring to streamline that process and get these things to the council. DPW is coming forward with their applications at the April 28th meeting. So that would include the Armory on that. And I did mention already that the administrator will be in for the Affordable Housing Trust for the April 28th meeting. And we'll look forward to having that letter of intent at that meeting. And the Centerville Historic Museum has asked for postponement of their letter of intent. There's still some work to be required on that. And we'll also need to look at the exterior of that building and how that fits and comports with the existing historic preservation restriction. If you recall, that building is occupied and there's no public access to that. So we're going to need to look at that and make a determination. We'll have legal make a determination on that. We also had a request from Planning and Development Department for up to $10,000 in community preservation administration funds for a consultant to research public rights for portions of Boulder Road and Flint Rock Road in support of the town efforts to extend the Cape Cod Railways program. I believe this came through the Open Space Committee, if I'm not mistaken, Farley. You're muted. This came from the Open Space.
We did review that. Yes.
So they want to look to. This is really the last section. This, I don't know, a couple, 300 or 400 yard section of the trail.
Right.
That will link it to the new bikeway, which is our easement across the Fish and Wildlife land to get this to Yarmouth.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had some challenges from the neighbors that this is a private way, South Flint Rock Road, although we were told by our previous town attorneys that it was accessible. We want to do a complete title search. South Flint Rock Road is an interesting animal, and Flint Rock Road. The road was bisected by the highway and redirected in this kind of crazy loop around these properties. And Boulder Road was the part that they shows on the maps as Boulder Road was actually Flint Rock Road. and that was a private, so-called private ancient way. So the title over there probably goes back to the 1700s, and the only way to adequately iron all of this out is a thorough title exam. So we haven't sent out any bids, but we think it could be well done for under $10,000. So
Okay.
I would take a motion to approve that and through that expense, and we'll get started.
Okay.
Yeah, Lindsay, just real quick, I'm going to be a no on this.
Okay.
I just this is my neighborhood. I live right off Marble, which connects to Boulder, and you know that we're referring to Flint Rock Road. South Flint Rock Road is way down by the fire academy, but this Flint Rock Road, yes, it's a very ancient way, but as a public way, you know, it has not had continued uninterrupted use. It hasn't been maintained by the town. So I just personally feel it's not a great use of the 10 grand. I just don't think that there's much of a shot there. I mean, there's a couple properties in there, 75 Boulder and 61 Boulder, that they're privately owned from Boulder to the Mid-Cape. And I just feel it's an exercise in futility, but maybe I'm wrong. But that's just where I'm at. Well,
the previous legal, we own 2 pieces of property in there.
Oh, we own a bunch, more than 2. Yeah.
Right. So
yeah.
what that legal access is has been a question for years. Many different opinions, and one thing that has not been done is a title search, and that's the only way to resolve it. So I think it's a fair way to resolve it. If we don't have rights, we don't have rights. It's over.
Right.
But we can stand around and debate it, because this is a short section. If we don't use this, then we have to send it back to the Open Space Committee and find a different way.
Oh yeah, it'd be phenomenal if it could be used. I mean, I've ridden my bike down that trail since I was probably 5 years old, and it's a wonderful, wonderful spot and such a great way to get from that neighborhood to Mary Dunn. So you're right. This is the way to find out once and for all. So I'll support it.
All right, we're very good. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motions.
Second?
I'll second.
I believe Stephen seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Ellen, would you call the roll? Ellen, are you? There you are.
Terry Duenas,
Yes.
Catherine Garofoli,
Yes.
Tom Lee,
Yes.
Deb Converse,
Yes.
Barley Lewis,
Yes.
Steve Robichaud,
Yes.
Lindsay Council.
Yes. Thank you, Ellen. All right. Now, the last item is the format for the April 28th, 2025 meeting. Ellen has been investigating the continuation of the COVID meeting format. I believe that's in the works with the powers that be in Boston. So I think we've all determined we pretty much like our current format. So I would say, if you would like, we can stay with the Zoom format, and then if need be, if they change their mind and don't extend it, I believe they're looking at 2 years, right, Ellen, for this?
Yes. Yeah, they're looking at extending it to 2027.
Oh my God,
Now, what's going to happen? We can't just have a strictly Zoom meeting anymore. We have to have public access and all of that. If we have to have a hybrid meeting if going forward, right?
I don't know. I don't think they're changing it. I think it's just an extension. I really don't know for sure.
No, I think
what that bill
we only
says.
have a hybrid meeting right now. You know, we don't have a hybrid meeting. It means in person and, Zoom. So I think that's what they're looking at, is how these formats can be worked out. That's why they keep extending it. Because it takes a lot to have a in-person meeting with hybrid call-in, all this other technical stuff.
Yeah.
I
So
think
let's stay the same. If everyone's agreeable, we'll
I think
plan on doing Zoom.
Lindsay, I think at this time that the town's IT department is not supporting a hybrid meeting, except the town
Right.
council meeting.
Yeah.
No, I think there's only, that's why you keep getting meetings bumped. We only have one room that can do it. So anyway, that's what I know, and we'll stay with this for now, and hopefully we'll get another 2 years. All right. Any further discussion? Did we miss anything or nothing? I'd
Nope.
take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second,
Second.
no one muted.
Deb, did you second?
I did, and Ellen's muted. Okay.
Not anymore.
All right,
Tony
Ellen.
Drainus,
Yes.
Catherine Garofoli,
She's
Catherine?
muted.
Thank
My
you.
God, Catherine.
It's catching. Tom Lee,
Yes.
Deb Converse,
Yes.
Farley Lewis,
Yes.
Steve Robichaud,
Yes.
and Lindsay Kunz.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.